Okay, welcome to video 9.5 here. Today we're going to do mixed factoring. So we're going to talk about all the factoring we've done so far. So remember, what are the methods of factoring? The first one is greatest common factor, GCF, or grouping, and then difference of two perfect squares, and then a trinomial. So how to factor, the steps are to always look for a GCF and the grouping. Then choose either D2PS or trinomial factoring. So let's do a couple examples together. This first one, m squared plus 13m minus 30. First thing is look for a GCF. There is no GCF here, so I can't do that. It is also not set up as 4, so I can't do factor by grouping. So I'm going to do trinomial factoring. So I'm going to start with an x box. And then I look at the a times c, which would be 1 times negative 30. I get negative 30. So I added in here that P for the PlayStation, A times C, so that you know where that comes from, the negative 30. Then down here, the S for the PlayStation, or sum. And remember that comes from the B term, which in this case is 13, because it's in standard form. Okay, so then I need two numbers that have a product of negative 30 and add up to 13. So if we wanted to, we could start writing out the factors of 30, or you can just think of them in your head. So I know 1 and 30, well, those are never going to add up to 13, even with 1 being negative, since I need a negative product. The next one is 2 and 15. Well, if I have 15, because I want the bigger one to be positive since my B term is positive, 15 minus 2. 15 minus 2 is 13, and 15 times negative 2 is negative 30. So those are my two numbers. Okay, so those are what I want to split my B term to be. So the 13m is going to split to be 15m minus 2m. Now that I have my four terms, I'm set up to do factor by grouping, which means group the first two, group the second two. And then we look for a GCF in both. The greatest common factor in the first two with the m squared and the 15m. The GCF there would be m. So then in the next line, I'm going to bring that m out front, and then I'm going to put my leftovers in parentheses, which would be the m plus 15. And then in the next two, my greatest common factor there would be a negative 2, since I know that I want it to be a positive m. So I'm going to divide by negative 2 to both terms. And then again, that comes written out front, so I have the negative 2, and then the leftovers, which would be m plus, because it's a negative divided by a negative, the 15. Now I can see here, and again, we want to use highlighters if that helps you, I can see that the m plus 15 is the same in both, so that's my GCF that comes out front. So I have the m plus 15 first, and then my leftovers go in parentheses, which is the m minus 2, and that's my final answer. Okay, so that was just one example, another one of the trinomial factoring. If you need reviews for any of the rest of these questions, you can always go back in your notes or look at the previous videos to look at how we factor using GCFs or grouping or difference of two perfect squares or trinomial factoring. And then we'll go over more of these in class. Have a good night.